Hey everybody, how you doing? And welcome to Beetle Brad's channel. So glad to have you here. Thank you so very much for tuning in. Well, today, if you missed part one, I did talk about the Beatles Get Back, and I've got all my variations here of the albums that came out for the box sets and my figures and the Japanese pressing CD. And also I got the store display, which is kind of cool. Kind of got a little glare in there. Okay, wow. Now we're going to talk about the second part. So here we go into the second part of Get Back. So where we last left our heroes, George was in the midst of walking out, and he left the group. And so basically we start off with day 8. So we start off with a calendar and kind of mark it through showing day 8. And they go into that. Basically, the very beginning is just them kind of talking and discussing, excuse me, with Paul and Ringo and an itchy nose. I start off with an itchy nose. Ringo is absolutely, I could tell Ringo is thoroughly bored with the whole entire venture. Ringo could really care less. For the first time, I think, ever seeing this, you kind of see the Beatles starting to dissolve because they're at a total loss without George. And right be, because George is not there. George is not present. So Paul and Ringo and Linda, and they're sitting there talking in a round circle with chairs and, Mel and a couple other people. And it just isn't going anywhere. They just don't know what to do and just don't know what to do with themselves. And the interesting thing, to back up a little bit, Brian Epstein, their manager, always said to them that no one of them are the Beatles. There's no one single Beatle. All 4 of them do make up this conglomeration of the Beatles. And as Brian said, if one of you cease to be the Beatles, then the thing will break apart. And Brian said that years and years ago. So here we are in 1969, to where you could start to see a little bit of, I guess you could say, friction, and start to breaking up of thoughts of all of that. And yeah, so you can kind of feel the friction, because at this point it's just Paul and Ringo together talking. And they're discussing, have you talked to George? Are you going to get George to come back? That's the big discussion, the big riff, and the whole thoughts is trying to get George to come back. So Paul just kind of goofs around and working on playing the song Get Back, and he's kind of going through it and trying to figure out what he can come up with. And you can kind of really tell that Paul is trying to hold on and trying to keep this as a band, to where they're really struggling at this point. They're really struggling to kind of make this work. And for me, it was a struggle, because I got up, each morning, this is at 3 in the morning, to watch this. So I'm watching this live and then doing a video right away. So for me, I'm kind of struggling, because I couldn't find the thing. It wouldn't come up right away. Part 2. I could find part 1, but part 2. So it was frustrating for me to get started. So I started late, 10 minutes late into the film, but I know you don't care about that, but I just thought I'd share that with you. It was just the frustration of trying to find part 2 of the Disney Channel. It's not very user friendly. So I kind of struggled myself, and being with the Beatles, I struggled too. But yeah, so, back to what we had with George. George basically wasn't even going to be bothered. And so they're trying to decide what to do, and Paul's playing piano. And there's some sweet moments with Paul playing the piano, and he does the song that he gave to Peter and Gordon, Woman. And that was kind of sweet to hear Paul. I've never seen that before. And that was really neat to watch him doing that. And then, you know, one of the songs he also did for Ram that he put on there, two legs. He did that in the song. So that was kind of neat to watch the actual video of them goofing around with Paul playing on the piano. But you can tell the friction just between Paul and Ringo. There's just nothing there, you know. And they keep going through the calendar. They keep Xing out. You know, they show the calendar in the video, and they X out day number 17, day 18, day 19. You know, they're going through these days because they've got nothing going on. I mean, John shows up with Yoko, and they're absolutely just kind of baffled, you know. So John's just sitting there, and he's not sure what's going on, and he's thoroughly bored. And this is kind of where actually my footage comes in. Not that I gave to Apple, but my footage that I've got the bootleg of this, and it's in black and white, of the whole entire clips of all of this part that's coming in with Peter Sellers, the comedian. He shows up, and I've got all the black and white footage. So it's interesting because this was all done in black and white, all of that part. There was a lot of film that was shot in black and white that they just had on hand to watch to see if they liked it enough to reshoot it, because it was expensive to shoot in color back then. So, you know, really 90% of Let It Be, or even 98% of Let It Be, is in black and white, because just the expense of doing color was not an option back then. You know, nowadays, you know, we shoot color everything, you know, color this, color that. But back then, it was all black and white, and then if they really liked it, the Beatles themselves, they shot it in color. Or they had another camera probably right there to shoot it in color as well. So a lot of that with Peter Sellers was all in black and white to begin with. So it was really cool and very interesting to see that in the actual aspect of being in color and Peter Sellers. And I'm really surprised because, you know, John talks about, you know, oh, we left the needles hanging around and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, oh gosh, that they kept that in there, which I was kind of surprised, you know, with all of the drug reference and all that kind of stuff. But it was basically them just trying to figure out what they're going to do in the aspect of having George come back. And without George, Beatles did not really exist, and they're struggling to figure out songs and all of that. And then they show some fans out on the street, these two girls, which we do see these two girls again during the part where they're on the rooftop, but they keep interviewing these girls hoping to see them. So they're waiting out in front of Apple Studios or Apple to see the Beatles themselves and just to meet them and, you know, fans and all that. And it's kind of cool. Great to see them talking about meeting the Beatles. And even the girls on the video, they talked about saying, well, you know, news does speculate Beatles breaking up. So, you know, even in that time, they were showing stuff in the news about the Beatles breaking up. So this segment so far, there's not really any big meat in this. This is kind of a grab, you know, it's kind of little pieces here and there, pieces there, here and there. There's a sweet part where Paul is playing piano and Ringo jumps in and he says, oh, good morning, Paul, you know, good morning, Rich. And they start playing the piano together, and that's really cool. And that is in the actual Let It Be film. But to see it in its entirety, you kind of get an understanding, okay, this is now day 9 or something like that. I don't know what day it was, but, you know, that's how it starts, is them playing the piano together. And in Let It Be, it's just kind of just choppy in pieces and all that kind of stuff, to where in this, it kind of flows of making more sense. And like I said, having Peter Sellers there, and then he leaves. And John is there, but he's kind of in and out of the whole scene of being in the video. He's not in every segment of the whole thing, and John is just baffled. I think the three of them really just kind of sat around, and they really didn't have much to work on, because they really needed George to be a band. They needed George to be a unit once again, and this wasn't happening. So The next segment, they end up moving. They're going to Abbey Road Studios and listening to tapes and all that kind of stuff. And a Mercedes 300 SL pulls up, Mercedes limousine, and that's George. And he gets out of the limousine, and that's great. So finally, George shows up, which is terrific. And then John shows up in his white Rolls Royce Phantom 5 with Yoko. And the two of them get out of the Rolls Royce, and then you can see Paul, because Paul only lived right down the street. So Paul's walking, and he's in there, and he just walks up to the building. I couldn't imagine seeing Paul McCartney on the street walking by. So, and that's kind of where I left the film, because they were in the studio kind of going over tapes and all that kind of stuff. And this is kind of where George, I think, starts bringing in, I mean, this is my speculation just from other stuff that I've watched and other stuff that I've heard, bringing in Billy Preston. So George Harrison, I think at this point, will start to bring in Billy Preston just to change the mood of the whole atmosphere. Like I said, I left the film because today, of all days, is Record Store Day too. So I'm out the door, man. I'm out the door to go to Record Store Day. So here I am talking about part 2 of Let It Be and Get Back. And I'm out the door to go to Record Store Day. So you'll see another video from me, and it won't be Get Back part 3. It'll be Record Store Day and what I bought. So this is a real busy time of videos and stuff. So I apologize that there's so much going on, but I'm out the door. I haven't seen the rest of Get Back because I'm walking out the door to go to Record Store Day. So I thank you so very much for watching my video. I'm going to end it like this because I won't be able to sit till later on this afternoon. So you guys will probably end up seeing it before I do. So I'm going to have to end it here. So thank you so very much for watching. Comment down below. Let me know what you thought of part 2. Did it drag? Yeah, it kind of did, didn't it? Did kind of drag out, didn't it now? So, but anyway, I thank you so very much for being here. Like I say, comment down below. Let me know what you thought of it. Definitely be anxious to hear what you have to say. And subscribe to my channel. If you haven't watched my videos before, watch Beatle Brad. I got tons of videos in the past for you to watch and future videos coming. But we will continue on with this. For Record Store Day coming up next, that'll be my next video, and then part 3 you'll see coming up, which I guarantee will probably be rooftop stuff of them getting ready for the big concert. So, but anyway, all right, I'm out the door. So you all take care, and I will see you on my next video.